Well, good afternoon and happy Tuesday. I'd like to welcome you all to our October 28th Team Garland Town Hall. My name is Tiffany Vino. I am the Chief Communications Officer for the city. I will be facilitating this town hall as well. Thank you for reading my emails and responding to the meeting invite. Um, for submitting your questions, and of course for logging in and joining us today. So before we get started, I did want to call your attention to one thing. We have been asking you guys to submit questions before the meeting. Well, if at any point during the meeting you think of a question or something comes to your mind, there is a Q&A button at the top of your screen. You'll see Q&A, and you can submit that question and at any point during the meeting and ask that. So we are going to ask and answer as many questions as we have time for at the end of the meeting. And of course, if your question does not get answered today, we're going to create an FAQ document like we did at the end of our last Team Garland Town Hall, and we'll distribute that out. So rest assured, all questions will receive an answer, even if they don't get answered today during the town hall. So as we get started, I would like to take a quick second to introduce you to all of our speakers today. We have Judd Rex, our city manager, who is going to be talking about the Team Garland playbook and city policies for staff. Misty Gardner was going to join him in that presentation. She's not able to join us today, but I wanted you to know her name in case you see future emails from her. We have Matt Watson, our Chief Financial Officer, who will be talking about our lump sum merit increase and our changes to personal leaves. And then we have Esmeralda Ariano, who is our benefits manager, and she is going to be talking to us about benefits open enrollment. So with that, let's get started. I am going to turn it over to Matt Watson to talk about our lump sum merit increase.
Thank you, Tiffany, and good afternoon, Team Garland. I wanted to take a brief moment to talk about the mechanics on how each one of you will be getting your lump sum merit increase for this year. So, as you all know, due to limited ongoing resources for the FY 25-26 budget, we had presented in the proposed budget and adopted by City Council for there to be a 2.5% one-time lump sum payment to each of our employees. For all of our on-cycle employees, this lump sum will be paid on the very first paycheck of the year on January 9th, 2026. For employees who are newly hired during the year, say you were hired in May of 2025, your lump sum check will be coming on the first anniversary date following that placement. If you have any questions regarding the lump sum payment, you can reach out to your human resource business partner or Garland HR at garlandtx.gov, and they will be happy to help with any additional questions. We talked about this at one of the previous town halls, but I wanted to reiterate some of the changes that we've had to make with personnel leave. So again, what we did on the change is prior to this year, your leave banks followed a calendar year basis, meaning they started over in January 1st of the year. However, with our transition to Workday, we have changed that to follow a payroll calendar. So what that means is again, previously at the end of December 31st, all of your leaves would roll over to the new balances. However, this year, under the new payroll calendar policy, you must use your leaves by December 20th of that year, or it will be forfeited. And December 21st will be the start of the new leave sets. So to explain this in a little more detail, under the old calendar, the two dates that are mostly affected is your December 25th and 26th holiday. So under the old calendar, those two would have been in your leave bank. Under the new calendar, the 25th and 26th will be actually in your 2026 leave bank. However, in order to make sure that we put this change out and provided enough time for individuals to make this adjustment, Tiffany, if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide. We did want to continue to include the 80-hour bank in 2025. So what that means is you still have 16 hours for the December 25th and 26th in your leave bank for 2025. And you can roll over up to 32 hours of unused holiday into 2026. So what that means is you still have those 16 hours available to you in 2025, and they will roll forward in 2026 as well for you to use in that 1 year time period. And again, this adjustment was made because we made this change mid-year, and we want to make sure that those that are working on mandatory staffing requirements or have planned for unused 2025 holiday hours to be able to make that adjustment. And as always, we will continue to put out information on Cognet regarding all changes with leave, additional items for the lump sum, as well as put out more information on how you can look at your absence balances. And I would encourage everyone to utilize One Garland to look into the learning module, as there are a lot of job aids. And in addition, don't ever hesitate to reach out to the finance staff, payroll staff, budget staff, or the HR staff with any questions. One other item I wanted to touch on and ask for Team Garland's help on an initiative that we would like to roll out. Right now, you have the option in Workday to receive an electronic copy only of your W-2. And you can see on the right side of the screen, if you go to the change your year-end tax documents, you have two choices: receive electronic copy of my year-end tax document, and receive both electronic and paper copies of my year-end tax document. We are requesting that all employees please go and try to select that first option of receive electronic copies of my year-end tax documents. That does not mean that you cannot print those out. You will have the ability to print those out as a PDF. But what we're asking for this for is, if you select the other option, by IRS requirements, we have to send you a paper document to your house. And by doing that, there's several risks. One is you will have that paper document going out in the mail, and we typically always have issues with change of address. And also, we would also like to try to make a cost saving measure as well. As we've mentioned earlier, we're in a tough budget cycle. Printing out the W-2s is a costly endeavor for the payroll department. So if you could, please take some time to go into your W-2 screen, change year-end tax documents, and select receive electronic copies of my year-end tax documents. And with that, I will turn it over to Esme.
Thank you, Matt. So I will be chatting with you a little bit about benefits open enrollment. Don't mind, Tiffany, the next slide. So for our 2026 open enrollment, it actually kicks off this Saturday. On November 1st, employees will have until November 17th this year, so an extra day, to complete your open enrollment. That's on a Monday. You'll have until 5 p.m. to complete your open enrollment through One Garland. We're going to have the same great benefit partners and programs, so no need to look for new ID cards, new programs. It's all going to be our current program lineup. We will have expanded ways to save with Commit to Wellness, and I'll touch on that in just a second. The most important thing about our open enrollment is just letting you know it's as easy as 1 to flex. One, we're asking you to go ahead and review and determine if you need to make changes to your benefits. You can do that even today. You can log into One Garland and take a look at your benefits and pay app, look up your benefits, and decide, do I need to add dependents? Do I need to remove dependents? Do I need to change them? Beginning Saturday, Your step 2 would be to make those changes. You want to make sure that if you are adding a dependent or you're needing to remove something, you go ahead and do that by November 17th at 5 p.m. Any changes you make will take effect January 1 of 2026. So do keep that in mind. And the last part of our open enrollment campaign 1-2 Flex is Flex. Flexible spending is the only program that the city does offer where we cannot automatically re-enroll you. You don't have to make any changes to your medical, dental, vision, any of those benefits, but flexible spending programs, if you are looking to continue participation into 2026, you do need to re-enroll yourself into flexible spending. If you don't, you're done. You don't even have to start the open enrollment process. If you want to leave everything as is, you're good with all your benefits, you're done. It's that easy and that simple. So we do want to make sure that you have those resources available. One of the items we are encouraging you to go ahead and get started today, though, is our Commit to Wellness program. We added some expanded ways for you to complete your C2W program. C2W base is as easy as ever. All we ask you to do is do a health assessment and 3 preventive care screenings. That could be your annual physicals, your flu shots, your dental cleaning, your vision exams. Do those, your health assessment and those 3 preventive screenings, and you're done. You save $20 on your health insurance premiums for the following year. C2W Plus, though, has some expanded ways. We're definitely making it to where you have control of completing your C2W Plus program. A lot more options. You can choose from daily tasks, monthly tasks, quarterly tasks, annual tasks, one-time tasks. Log in to your Personify Health account today if you haven't done so, and go ahead and get started. We are also rolling out rewards cash with your C2W Plus program, so definitely encourage you to go ahead and log in and get started today. So before we move to the next screen, again, you only need to participate in open enrollment if you are making changes to the benefit programs and or dependent options that you have available, or you plan to participate in open enrollment. If you don't mind, next slide, please. And we're here to help. We are a phone call away, an email away on the benefits team. We already have all of our open enrollment collateral communication, an expanded video presentation of the benefit programs and C2W out on not only on Cognet, but also on garlandtx.gov. If you visit the benefits page, you will also find all of our open enrollment resources. So we do try to make sure we get everything out ahead of time to you. You'll find the employee benefits guides. The benefit guides are already out there and available. They'll actually show you the one change that is actually happening to employee health benefits, which is health rates, health insurance rates. The medical plan did increase an average of 6% across the board. What does that mean? That equates to about $3.91 a month for an employee only on the base plan. So you divide that by 2, and that would be your payroll deduction increase in 2026. The dental plan also had a rate increase for the first time in quite a few years. The dental plan for an employee only on our base plan went up a little bit, less than 70 cents a month. Again, you divide that by 2, and that 35-cent increase is what you will see on your January 1 benefits. If you have questions, again, visit Cognet, visit garlandtx.gov. We've got a lot of our information out there. Email benefits@garlandtx.gov or give us a call at 972-205-2475, option 1. I am going to turn it over to Judd.
Thanks, Esme. Thanks, Matt. Hi, Team Garland, and good afternoon. I'm excited to talk about the Team Garland playbook with you. And before I do that, I want to encourage you to sign up to get your W-2 electronically. I'm going to make a plug just like Matt did. If you like getting your taxes done really early, which I do, that's the best way to do it. You can download it as soon as it's available and not have to wait for the postal service to drop it in your mailbox. So I want to make a plug for that for sure. So this afternoon, I'm going to talk a little bit about, in general, what the status of the Team Garland Playbook project, and then talk specifically about a policy that is going to be included in the playbook when it goes live January 1st of next year. I think there we go. Thank you, Tiffany. Appreciate you working through the slides with us. So a little bit about where we have been and a little context that I want to set up before we jump right in. First is that, as you know, the city has directives. For many, many years, this has been how internal policies and procedures have been sort of codified with the city, has been through directives, and they were authored by departments or originated in departments. For finance policies were created in the finance department, and HR, same thing there, IT, etc. Over the years, that's how the directives were originated. On average, the directives that we have on the books right now were created on average 27 years ago, and many of them, of course, were much prior to that or earlier to that. And so we, early on had a situation where a lot of the directives simply don't reflect how we do business and how we do things right now. Our current practices are out of alignment with a lot of the directives that are on the books. And that we've made a lot of recent changes to policies as well. And so why we're creating a Team Garland playbook is to unify all of those policies with the goal to make it really easy for members of Team Garland to understand what policies the city has that employees operate under, what's expected of them, and what are to be really clear and make it easy to access what the rules are. That's really what it boils down to. And so next point there, Tiffany. Where we're at right now with that background is that we're in this kind of transition period. We've started the development of a Team Garland playbook really back to last year. And I want to give a big shout out to Misty Gardner, who has helped to lead this effort over really the past year. And also to Scott Bollinger here in the city manager's office that more recently has helped to continue the progress that we've started on this. And so if you go on to Cognet right now, what you'll see is a mix of existing directives and what we call interim policies, essentially directives that we had to update in order to implement certain things. For example, Workday financials and Workday payroll. Both of those programs, when we implemented that system, needed to have some policy changes that came with them. And so we made some interim policies that will really bridge the gap between where we are with directives and the full implementation of the Team Garland playbook. And we also started the precedent of that policies will be set forth from the city manager's office. We operate under a council manager form of government, and per that form of government, me as city manager and our city management team really, if something is going to apply to our employees in terms of policies and expectations, that's where the policies should originate. And so yes, there's a lot of input from the departments and the subject matter experts when it comes to the policies. We work closely with our managing directors and directors to draft these, but as a whole, they come from city management. And then to where we're going, the last point here, that is the Team Garland playbook. When we implement this in January, employees will have access electronically to a platform that's called Lexapol, and it's an online cloud-based platform that allows you to, at any time, any location, wherever you are, there's no need to carry a big fat binder of paper around. You can have at your fingertips what the city policies are on everything related to any of our what are currently directives, but we're going to be calling policies. They'll be well organized. You'll be able to search and find what you need. You will be able to again, access them from any location. As long as you have internet, you can log into Lexapol and have access to that, just like you do with Workday and some of the other systems that we have here at the city. This platform will also be able to host standard operating procedures. So as departments develop SOPs or SOGs, they will be able to do that in Lexipol. And another thing is, when you talk about communication, another thing that is a benefit of Lexipol is that as we can easily update the policies with a few clicks of the mouse and keystrokes, and push that out and communicate it out to the entire organization, and for it to be acknowledged by every city employee, so it's really easy to make changes and to update and inform everybody about what changes were made. Lexipol is not new to Team Garland. This is the platform that GPD uses for their general orders, and it is also used by a number of other local governments in our area and across the country to host their policies and procedures. So that's, again, kind of where we've been, where we are right now, and where we're going. So I wanted to touch on that. In terms of the process for updating directives and turning them into the Team Garland playbook, a lot of this work started a long time ago, last year, in a galaxy far, far away. I don't know why I just got a Star Wars reference there, but it just came to mind. But we have started this process and originated with city management reviewing what we have on the books now, and working with Misty and her team to kind of make some initial decision points about how are we going to organize this, where do the different sections go, what needs to be updated, what doesn't need to be updated. We had a lot of input from our strategic leadership team and the managing directors on different policies, and we've gone through a lot of legal review on the policies as well. We want to make sure that our legal team, our city attorney and his team, have an opportunity to help guide the policies as well. And then directors have also been involved in the drafting of these policies. And so where we are going next, really, between now and the end of the year, is that Misty's going to be making the draft policies available for review by directors, and we want to continue to get some feedback and input on the policies. And so that's going to happen eventually toward the end of the year. We will be able to publish this out completely and give access to all city employees, and ultimately launch the playbook at the first of next year. So again, I want to kind of talk about the many fingerprints that have been on this process, and the input that's been received for the crafting of the Team Garland playbook and the policies involved. So I want to pivot now to a specific policy that I'm going to talk about, and it has to do with conflicts of interest and nepotism. And I'm going to give a lot of context around this before I talk about the details of the draft policy. This policy really stems as we began our work on the playbook. There were a few areas that were admittedly absent from our current directives. And this was one of them. And the policy, though, really stems, and I want to talk about the why behind this. So last year, the City Council adopted a new mission statement for the organization. And it goes as follows. You can see it up there on the screen. We serve to grow public trust and a thriving Garland community today and for the future. And when the council adopted this mission, they emphasized what it means to grow public trust. That really was if you go back to the work session and council meetings where this was discussed, that was a specific request from the council to include in there, not just hey, we want to grow a thriving Garland community today and for the future, but we want to grow public trust. And that's really the foundation of this policy and everything in the Team Garland playbook. My commitment and our commitment as Team Garland is to uphold fairness, transparency, and accountability in everything that we do. And so that's what's kind of grounding the development of this policy. Some other context I want to share around it is that there's There's probably going to be some stories that you tell yourself about the policy when it comes to in my intentions, management's intentions, whatever that looks like. And this, I want to be clear that this policy is not about catching anyone doing anything wrong. Nobody is doing anything wrong, and this is about strengthening the trust in our organization. The goal of this really is to prevent actual conflicts of interest, but also to avoid the appearance of conflicts, which from a public confidence standpoint really can be just as damaging as the appearance of conflicts. It's also about equity and fairness, ensuring that every employee or prospective employee applicant has the same opportunity to succeed based on merit and not on relationships. This helps to also protect hiring managers and employees alike from perceptions of favoritism or undue influence. And so again, I want to be clear that this is not about, nobody's done anything wrong. This isn't the city manager coming after any single individual or anything like that. This is about strengthening the trust in our organization. The conflict of interest policy also protects much more than hiring and promotion decisions. It safeguards how we manage all city processes and all city resources. This includes how we administer contracts, oversee vendors, manage budgets, and make financial and operational decisions that really impact the entire organization and impact the entire city. I consider the resources that the public has entrusted us with to be sacred, and those taxpayer dollars, those ratepayer dollars, the city facilities, and really the public trust, we have a duty to manage them beyond reproach, and that's what this draft policy provides us the opportunity to do. In a minute, I'll talk specifically about how this will impact certain departments, and what we call them in the policy internal serving departments, and I'll get into more detail about those. But there are certain departments at the city that have unique organization-wide access to systems, to finances, to information, access, and governance that other departments do not. And so there are some parameters around what those internal serving departments, how they operate, and how this policy applies to them. And I'll touch on that here in just a minute. Some common perceptions that I want to address about this. Again, some may wonder if this policy targets individuals, or I guess you could say our family-oriented culture. And that certainly is not the purpose behind this at all. We're not dismantling the family feel that makes Garland special. We're protecting it by creating consistent standards that support fairness across the board. Others might worry that, again, that they've done something wrong if they have a family member in the organization, and that is not the case, and certainly is not the target of this policy. And we've been specific, and I'll again talk about it here in a minute, that in respect to that, the policy is not retroactive. So all current positions will be grandfathered in when the playbook takes effect on January 1st. And that's an important point here in the policy. Finally, I want to talk a little bit about, and you can keep it there, Tiffany, for just a minute. The policy ensures hiring, promotion, contracting, and other administrative decisions are made objectively and transparently. Too many words there, my apologies. It also reinforces a level playing field for all applicants, all employees, all vendors, internal and external to the organization. Again, with the goal in mind to reinforce the trust that our residents place in us to manage public resources and opportunities with integrity. The policy will apply to the city management side of the organization. I know some have asked the question, well, does this apply to city council members? The city council will independently be reviewing their own conflict of interest and nepotism provisions as part of their annual review of city council policies. That will be coming up later in November, and that will again, be a city council decision that they will work through. Closing reflection before I kind of jump into the specifics of the policy here. This has been a difficult but important policy to develop. And it's because it affects people we care about in situations that are sensitive. And I want you to know that we've approached this in a very thoughtful and methodical way. We took time to listen. Development of this policy started back toward the beginning of this year. We worked through, I think it was in May that we worked through several different meetings with our managing directors. We introduced it to the directors last month in September, and then to managers and administrators last week. And so this has been a very thoughtful process with a lot of discussion to make sure that we're shaping the policy that's both fair and practical. So jumping into the policy here, I mentioned that if there is an existing conflict or relationship out there that ultimately will be in violation of the policy when it goes into effect, everything is grandfathered in. So again, we're not penalizing anyone for where they are right now. Also, I wanted to mention about civil service. That civil service, there are specific rules governed by Chapter 143 that apply to police and fire civil service, and they each have their own conflicts of interest and nepotism rules that apply to Chapter 143 or civil service, and so that will sort of trump what we're drafting here because of Chapter 143. Next slide, Tiffany. So I want to. It's important in the conflicts of interest policy to define what a relative is and how it's defined. Very similar to the state code and to what other organizations, many other cities do, which is that if there is a relationship either through blood or marriage that is within the third degree of affinity or a consanguinity, you will see if you look at that table, that is essentially if you're an individual and you have a parent or child, that's first degree. If it's a aunt, uncle, niece, nephew, that's third degree. So you can kind of see on that table what is defined as a relative through the policy. I think that's it for there. So how this applies, given that framework of defining what a relative is. So number one is that if you're an employee, if you are the city manager or you're an employee of the city manager's office, you cannot have a relative as defined on that previous slide anywhere in the organization. And that is that this policy starts at the top. It applies to me as much as it applies to anyone else in the organization. I mentioned before about the internal service departments. These are departments, again, that have access to governance, information, technology, access, etc., that is sort of above and beyond what a lot of other departments have. They serve the organization, they serve the whole city. They make decisions that impact how we do business and how resources are spent, how individuals are hired. They stand out in that way. And so the policy says that if you are an employee in an internal service department, that you can't have a relative in the organization. And so those include budget and research, facilities, financial services, information technology, human resources, purchasing, procurement, and risk management. Out of full transparency, one of the exercises that we went through earlier this year was to try to find a way to differentiate between certain positions in those departments to try to sort of limit the application of this policy. And it got to the point where it was really impossible to do that. And to say that a certain employee in that department versus another employee could have a relative in the organization, due to their job title and their roles and responsibilities, it really got to the point where it was difficult. And so how the policy is drafted is that if, again, any employee in those departments can't have a relative in the organization. Next slide. These next few examples, I tried to use some graphics here to explain what we're talking about here on the next few points. Number 3, relatives may work for the same department but may not supervise each other. So in the first sort of mini org chart example there on the left, if you have a supervisor that reports to a director, for example, that has a relative that doesn't report to that supervisor, that's an okay situation when it comes to the conflicts of interest policy. The next example you see there with the red X is when a supervisor supervises directly a relative, and that is something that is not allowed. And that would apply up and down the chain of command. So again, back up to the top of the organization and the city manager, for example, even if I did not directly supervise a relative, they couldn't be anywhere down the chain of command, meaning the whole organization. And that would apply if you say a director, nobody in the, no relative of that director could work within that department or the span of chain of command within that department. Well, what about a situation where you have two relatives that don't report to each other but work alongside each other and report to the same supervisor? And that's what this number 4 addresses. This is where we are asking that department heads, whether that's a department head, administrator, or a director, would have to essentially escalate that request. So say that relative, one of those relatives was going to be proposed to be hired and work alongside another relative. That supervisor would have to elevate that decision and essentially put some fingerprints on it and get clearance from the department head for that. And there'll be some considerations that apply to that, meaning are they going to, how closely do they work with each other? Do they make decisions that would impact one or the other? And those type of considerations would apply when considering an exception for that particular relationship. So again, those that's so going back, actually, if you don't mind, Tiffany, go back one more slide. I'm just going to review these real quick. So these are kind of the 4 main points here. One is that for city manager, city management office, no relatives in the organization. Same would apply for internal serving departments, which you see listed there. And then on the next slide, again, it's chain of command, no relatives within an individual's chain of command. And employees can work alongside each other and report to the same supervisor, but that does require department head approval for that situation. Now let's go to the next slide, Tiffany. That was the last one. So if you go back one more here, and then I'll turn it back over to you. Again, I want to reemphasize and go back to the purpose behind this, and it has everything to do with our mission to grow public trust. Again, if there is a existing relationship in the organization that would be in conflict with this policy, you're good, you're grandfathered in, that can continue. But after this does go into effect, any promotion or reassignment or other hiring decision would have to be in compliance with the policy as it's proposed. So with that, I will say, and I think there's a few Q&A when we get there that I'll touch on some other things. If you have a question about this policy, I would encourage you to email either Misty or myself so that we can respond to those questions directly and address your questions with transparency as well. So with that, Tiffany, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Well, Esme, thank you, Judd, first of all. Esme talked to us earlier about benefits, and so I wanted to talk about a little bit different kind of benefits for our employees. So this will be kind of the last things we talk about before we jump into those Q&A questions that you've submitted. And just a reminder, you can continue to submit those at any point during this meeting by using that Q&A button up at the top of your screen. So we all know that there's lots going on in the city of Garland, and not just our organization, but across the community at large. So I did want to touch on a few of those things that our employees can participate in and enjoy. This week we are continuing something that we've been doing all month long. It's our Scream on the Square movie series. We have a pop-up movie screen on the downtown square, and this Thursday we'll be showing Hocus Pocus, and then Friday for Halloween we have a double feature of Beetlejuice. And so it's both the older movie, but then the one that was just recently redone. So the very next day on Saturday, to kick off our beginning of November, we have Dia de los Muertos on Saturday, November 1st. This is our 8th annual celebration. It's one of the City of Garland's many cultural festivals. We will have live music, ballet folklorico, mariachi, a lowrider car show, a Katrina and Katrina contest. It's taking place at the Granville, all the way down 5th Street. There's even going to be a parade, a procession, and then encompassing the square as well. So that's something that'll be lots of fun. Encourage you to go if you can. On November 12th, Wednesday, November 12th, that's our next Team Garland Reads event, which if you don't know what this is, it is our employee book club. So this month, the club is reading Broken Country by Claire Leslie Hall. And on that Wednesday, November 12th, the group will meet at Central Library at noon. Bring your lunch, and you'll have a time of fellowship and just discussion about the book. It's lots of fun. And then lastly, I know this is a little bit away, but we're not going to have another town hall before then. So I wanted you to mark that calendar for our Christmas on the Square. It's the largest event that the city puts on. It's happening Thursday, December 4th, starting at 5 p.m. on our downtown square. And of course, there's the fan favorites of Santa and the tree lighting. But this year, there's going to be a special surprise. There's also a skating rink this year. So lots of fun. Make sure to mark your calendars for that. If you'd like any other upcoming events, we do put out a weekly newsletter. You'll get it in your emails every Monday morning. It's called Cognotes, City of Garland Notes, and it's for employees, all employees. And so in addition to just organizational news, organizational resources, benefits information, we also do include a ton of upcoming events in there. So keep an eye on that. But then we do want to also give some shout outs, because we know that we have amazing staff here in the city of Garland, and without you, nothing could get done. And we recognize the just quality of excellence that you guys put forth every day. So in Cognotes, again, another plug for it, we are always giving staff shout outs. And so please submit those to the Public and Media Relations Department if you have them. But for this month's town hall, we want to call out a few of those that we've seen over the past couple weeks. If you watched Judd's video the other day, you've already seen number one, but it's so important. It's such a big deal that I wanted to make sure I put it in here in case anybody didn't get a chance to watch Judd's video. So congratulations to our Parks and Recreation Department. They were recently CAPRA certified, and they got accredited with that certification, and it's a humongous deal. Only 224 parks and recreation agencies across the nation can claim that designation. So shout out to all of the hard work that went into that. It's a great accolade. Our Visit Garland team was also honored with 3 first place awards at the Texas Destination Excellence Awards during the Destinations Texas Annual Conference. So congratulations to that team as well. The National Association of Telecommunications Officers and Advisors recognized our Public and Media Relations Department with 5 2025 National Programming Awards. And then cultural arts, with the help of several other departments, so shout out to all of those other departments as well, recently unveiled a Texas-sized symbol of Garland's official designation as the Cowboy Hat Capital of Texas. The big hat sculpture, as it's called, stands 20 feet long, 16 feet wide, and 6 feet tall. It's the largest cowboy hat in Texas, and if you haven't seen it, it's on the downtown square. Come and take your photo with it, make it look like you're wearing it on top of your head. But just congratulations to that team and all the help for getting that undertaking done. And lastly, congratulations on the groundbreaking for our Garland Senior Activity Center. It kicked off construction on August 23rd. And then just this past weekend, our West Garland Library opened for the first time. It opened to the public. And so we had a ribbon cutting ceremony on October 25th. Congratulations to both of those departments and for everyone who helped make those and are continuing to make those projects happen. If you'd like to give kudos to one another, maybe it's not a department-wide celebration or something you want to submit for cog notes, but maybe you just want to thank someone for helping you out with a situation. We have what's called kudos available on Cognet. And so this is a screenshot of the instructions of how you can do that. We also have those kudos that pop up right when you log into Cognet. You can kind of see what everybody's saying about one another, and so encourage you to kind of give each other a pat on the back and say thank you for all the teamwork that happens every single day. With that, I am going to invite all the other presenters to turn their cameras back on, please. And I am going to start asking the questions that have been submitted. So we have 7 that were submitted before the meeting, and then you guys have been submitting them during the meeting. So we're going to ask as many as we can. And again, if they don't get answered here right now before the end of our meeting, we will create an FAQ and have all of them answered and sent back out to everyone. So team, if y'all will turn your cameras back on, I'm going to kind of help get y'all on the screen. Go. So first question. This one's going to go out to Matt, our Chief Financial Officer. Why has the yearly stability pay been added to our paychecks?
That's a great question. When we moved over to Workday, we configured Workday to basically run on a biweekly basis. So in order to have an off cycle, we would have to set up and configure a whole new pay cycle for that. So we have opted to remain on the biweekly pay cycle. And I know that some employees feel like doing that takes a little bit more of a tax bite out of that paycheck. But do know that that is just your withholdings, not the actual tax liability, which you settle up with Uncle Sam at the end of the year. And I do want to point out that at any time in Workday, you can make any changes to your withholding elections through the Workday One Garland. So I would encourage everyone throughout the year to monitor that to ensure that you're making the appropriate tax liability for the end of the year so that you can get the appropriate refund or pay as little as you possibly can throughout the year.
Awesome. So Matt, I'm going to throw you a follow-up question. So this one was submitted. It says, with the cost of living going up and no raise coming, and some we've heard about our insurance going up as well, is there any consideration for being paid weekly as opposed to the biweekly? And if so, if that would be a consideration, could employees opt out of that?
That's a great question. We're always looking for ways to better our payroll system. It's kind of a similar answer to the previous one in that right now the configuration for Workday is on a biweekly basis. Well, what we would have to take into consideration is how much time expenditures it would take in order to look into doing something like that, not just from a configuration standpoint, but from benefit deductions, reporting, TMRS, all of those other items that would go into that. But as always, we're always going to be looking to improve Workday. We invested a lot of money into that product, and we fully anticipate for it to evolve over time. But that's a great question that we will take back and look into.
Right. Thank you. So now, Judd, I'm going to move on to a couple of questions for you. So, we've talked about being in a financially tight budget situation for the city. And so just some kind of thoughts, I guess. Are city vehicles being used to their full potential? Are we getting rid of them too soon, or could that maybe be an opportunity to look into that for some cost savings?
That's a great question, and I think it's coming from a good place too. Everybody on Team Garland wants to be a good steward of public funds, and we spend a lot of money on our fleet to do the job and the work that we do as Team Garland. It takes a huge fleet, and I would say that we manage our fleet much like you would see a large rental car company, for example, manage their fleet, where we set based on what we can sell those vehicles for on the open market. We set parameters in place for certain vehicles to be sold at certain times so that we don't have to take on additional maintenance cost, and that we can sell those back onto the market and help to pay for the vehicle that replaces it. And so many years ago, and Matt and Allison know this best, we set up a vehicle replacement fund that helps to fund the purchase of vehicles, and the proceeds through auctioning those vehicles come back into that fund to balance things out. And so I think the number, and I've got it here, we generate about $1 million annually in selling those fleet vehicles, and come back through that. Again, that goes right back into purchasing new vehicles, and it's always a balance. I know we look at this frequently in terms of when we buy and when we sell, and how to manage that. But my experience is that we're doing it very efficiently, and in a way that you would see a lot of other large organizations with large fleets handle how they manage it. So just know that we appreciate the question, and that we're always looking for ways to be good stewards of public funds, and we do that in our vehicles and fleet as well.
Kind of on that same vein, Judd, thinking through ways of maybe being looking at cost savings or being good stewards, rather than throwing supplies or furniture away, like when we need to change or go in a different direction. Is there a way to share those with other departments, or sell it, or maybe give it to nonprofits? Is there any just options there?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say if I think a lot of discretion is left up to our departments and directors to if as we cycle through supplies or furniture, et cetera, things that age with time and kind of outlive their usefulness. Work. If you've got a question about something, talk to your director, talk to your supervisor, and say, hey, what are we doing with that? I noticed we're getting some new office chairs or desks or something. We are absolutely 100% supportive of making sure that we, again, are good stewards of the public funds and the resources that we're given. So, take some responsibility for, saying, hey, how can we better do that, and engage with your department head, your director, to offer up those ideas and suggestions. That said, we've all been in a position where that couch, that coffee table, that armchair, that kitchen table, like, it just gets to the end of its life, and it's like, this needs to go. And so sometimes we do have to just depart with things and that's lived out their useful life, and it's time to go. So again, engage your department head or director in some of those decisions.
So I do want to thank you, Judd. I want to throw one to, we also are being joined by Allison Stedman, our budget director. And so we had a kind of specific budget suggestion or question that wanted her to be able to answer. And so the thought was that we're kind of continuing on with being in a tight financial year, is just, are there opportunities, or should departments be looking at their budgets or reevaluating them potentially based on needs versus wants? The question says, is this a time to reevaluate budgets based off of where we are in the city financially?
Thank you, Tiffany, and thanks for letting me join you today. On an annual basis, we ask our departments to look at their line item utilization, run their budget versus actual history, and really evaluate how those line item budgets are being utilized. and identify where there are opportunities for those line items to be repurposed to offset cost increases for their other existing initiatives, or reprogram to start new initiatives for the city. The past couple years, we've been in a healthier revenue status, so that has been done more informally at the department level or in kind of case by case with city management. For those that have been around the organization longer, they know that we used to do, what we would call our reduction form or reallocation forms. If the current financial condition continues, we may be looking to kind of reformalize that process and get all departments engaged in a more formalized submission of any potential reallocations or proposals of how they could do more with their existing resources.
Great, thank you. So Matt, I'm going to pitch it back to you. Got about 5 minutes. I'm going to see how many I can ask. And so we had a couple people ask questions and kind of in different ways, but they're all about the same thing. So I'm going to try to sum it up into one, but it's about the holiday hours. So when we talk about Christmas in 2025 versus, heading into 2026, the 16 hours, it almost seems like 16 hours in 1 year and 16 hours in the next year, and how that carries over. If you could just maybe re-explain that, what is being included this year, what's being carried over, how, do we need to do anything for it to be carried over? Do we need to code that into Workday at all? Just, are we kind of getting doubled for those holiday hours, or how does that work?
Sure, and then I apologize for not explaining this one well. I struggled with this one, but the bottom line is the 25th and 26th prior to this year, that would have been in your holiday bank for this year. Moving forward, we'll be on a pay period basis. So technically, the 25th and 26th will be in next year's holiday bank of 80 hours. However, in order to help with the transition, we are not lowering the holiday bank this year. Technically, the holiday bank should be 16 hours lower if we're changing the pay period to a pay period basis rather than the calendar year. And by policy, you can roll over up to 32 hours of holidays. So what we're saying is we're not reducing this year's holiday bank of 80 hours. And next year you will have 80 hours as well. It's just the 25th and 26th has traditionally been in the current year's holiday bank, and it is now in next year's. And again, so what we're doing to help with the transition is not removing any of the holidays out of this year's bank.
Perfect. And then I do want to kind of clarify, I think I know the answer to this. That holiday is different from the 200 other limits that are able to be carried over, like carryovers or potential carryovers for vacation hours or discretionary time, if that's allowed, or things like that. We're only talking about the holiday hours.
Yes, just the holiday hours, but do keep in mind that come the 21st, all your vacation leaves and your sick leaves will switch over like they traditionally did at January 1st.
Perfect. Awesome. So Judd, I'm kicking back to you.
All right.
We've got time for a nepotism question. So we had 2 nepotism questions. So after the nepotism directive comes into effect, how will the organization manage a situation where 2 employees in the same department, each with family members working in other departments, become related?
So that's a good question. And I realize that family relationships can form in the workplace, whether intentional or not. So I want to reference back the grandfather clause. So if 2 employees were in a position that they were unrelated prior to the adoption of the policy, then and then that relationship changed because of a marriage or something else, they'd still be grandfathered into those positions and able to stay in those positions. I think that's kind of what they're asking. If not, email me. I can clarify that as well.
Awesome. Well, I don't really want to get into it. We have 1 minute left and probably seconds because I'm not sure when it turned 2:59. So I don't want to get into another question because I don't want to make anyone late. Just a reminder though, these questions that we didn't get to today, we will create an FAQ, email that back out to everyone so all of them will be answered. And just thank you again to everyone for joining us. You can continue to submit questions via that form that was emailed out, and we will add those to the FAQ as well. Hope everyone has a great rest of the afternoon.
Thank you.